All right, so I'm going to try something new on this channel. I'm going to do a watch party for today's Cavs versus Celtics game. So if you want to check that out and you haven't subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ding that notification bell so you get notified when I go live and when I drop Cavs content. I've been dropping Cavs content on the daily. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ding that notification bell. Now, this video that you're going to see here is a clip from a live stream that I do with the OBR. It stands for Orange or Brown Report. It's an outlet that usually talks about the Cleveland Browns, but in my live stream on Mondays at 7, I also work in the Cavs in there too. So make sure you go check them out if that sounds interesting to you. But here's the clip from that show. We're talking about the importance of this game versus the Boston Celtics. I think it's important that we put in context just how important this Cavs game versus the Boston Celtics is, but also not get so carried away in talking about how fun it's going to be to watch the Cavs play one of the most meaningful regular season games of the week, to not fall into the trap of putting all of our eggs in this one basket, which is beating the Boston Celtics on Tuesday. Would it be fun if the Cavs beat the Boston Celtics on Tuesday? Yes. Would it mean that the excitement for the Cavs would ratchet up a significant level if they were able to beat the Boston Celtics on national TV? You betcha. I guarantee it. The excitement will be palpable if the Cavs do it. But does this mean that you cash out if the Cavs don't beat the Boston Celtics? Does this mean that you throw out all your Cavs merch and say the season's a fraud because the Cavs lose to the Boston Celtics? No. No, it does not mean that. We hope to see a competitive game. We hope to see the Cavs win a competitive game versus the Boston Celtics. But ultimately, the outcome of this game will just be the outcome of one game out of 82. So while I'm going to talk about why I think this game is important, it's important to remember that we should not put all of our eggs in the basket of beating the Boston Celtics, or at least right now. Now, in the playoffs, obviously that's the case, but we're not in the playoffs. We're in November. But I do think, regardless of that, it's still important that the Cavs show up this week versus the Boston Celtics. And I do think winning a game versus Boston does demonstrate something to not just the rest of the league or the national media, right? Which, by the way, if the Cavs do beat the Boston Celtics on Tuesday or today, depending on when you're watching this video, yes, we will do our victory laps. Yes, we will dunk on some of the people nationally who've been doubting us. But again, it doesn't mean the Cavs have won the NBA Finals or anything like that, right? Like, we're not under that delusion. But it would be important for the Cavs to know that they can beat the Boston Celtics. Basketball is about a lot of things: size, ability, talent, we know. But another thing that basketball, or at least is a big part of basketball, is confidence. You want your best players to go into every game that they play knowing and feeling like they can win. Not if everything goes right, we can win. Not if we play perfect, we can win. No, it's just straight up. If we play a game and they play their game, we can beat them. You want your team to have that confidence coming into the season, coming into any series that they play, right? What I did not love about the last year's Cavs team is that they ran up against that New York roadblock, and up until this season, they never got through it. Like, they didn't do well against the Knicks in the regular season after that series. They didn't do well against the Knicks, period, until this year, where they blew out the Knicks. The Cavs need to make sure that no matter how this season plays out, they don't create a mental hurdle for themselves. They don't let a Boston beat them 4 times this season. They don't let anybody beat them 4 times this season. They don't let anybody get the idea that they have the Cavaliers numbers or have the edge on the Cavaliers if they played them in a series. That is what this is about. It's about proving to yourself, if you're the Cavs, that you're on Boston level, because your record says you are. But that's different than feeling like you're on Boston's level, right? That matters. Think about what happened in the NFL this week, right? The Buffalo Bills beat the Chiefs, and now everybody feels like the Bills are on the Chiefs level. The Bills feel like they're on the Chiefs level. It matters, right? And in the NBA, right now, the top dog is the Boston Celtics. That's who won the championship last year. That's who's been the king of the East the last couple of years. That's who it is. This is important. This is a big game. Also, for a team that's trying to maintain a lot of the momentum that they've built up, this is how you maintain that momentum, right? By winning games that you get your fan base excited for, by rewarding your fan base for being excited, by winning. This is what carries on that positive momentum. This is what keeps away a lot of that negativity that some people default to, where they're like, oh, they're not real. They haven't beat these big teams, all of that and this and that. This is how you reward a fan base for sticking through what was a rough season last year. Even though the record wasn't terrible, the Cavs had a rough go of it last year, right? The ride wasn't super fun with the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2023. But the ride has been fun so far with this team. Now, it's going to be tough. I don't know who's going to be healthy for the game. Last time they played, they did not have Donovan Mitchell. We don't know if Donovan Mitchell is going to be healthy for this game. We don't know who's going to be available for this game, right? Even Darius Garland sat out a little bit against the Hornets. You didn't have Isaac Okoro. That's an ankle. You don't think he's probably going to be back. Dean Wade. So you're not 100% healthy going into this game. And if that stops you from beating Boston, I think nobody's going to be upset at you. But, you know, if you put up a fight, I think everybody will be okay with it. But the question about the Cavs beating Boston is about them proving it to themselves that they belong, that they are a team that even if they're going through something, can put a fight up with the best team in the NBA, that they belong in that conversation. Now, they already beat the Warriors, who were one of the best defenses, and it's important to remember, the Warriors came in there with like the second best defense in the NBA, and the Cavs put 80 on them in like the first half, something crazy like that. They beat them by like almost 40 points. This Cavs team's no joke. If you've been watching them, you would know. But a lot of people haven't been watching them. And this is their chance to let them know, right? So if the Cavs want to let them know, they definitely got to beat the Boston Celtics. And how are the Cavs going to be able to do this? They have offensive versatility. They have defensive versatility. That is the biggest difference that I saw in this Cavs team to last year and this year, is the versatility. Is the ability to make adjustments, right? If Kenny Atkinson has brought anything other than his offense, which obviously works if you watch it, but also what I think Kenny Atkinson has brought to this table when it comes to the Cavs is those adjustments. The Cavs make adjustments now. Like I saw them when they were playing the Hornets switch to a zone in the middle of the game. And I remember thinking, JB would never adjust. the problem with JB was that he refused to just outright, straight up refuse to adjust at times. It would drive you crazy with JB. But with with Atkinson in there, he's making those adjustments. And I think what's interesting about Atkinson making those adjustments is how he got it. Somebody wrote an article on SB Nation about how Max Strus brought over some of the zone defense that he used to run with Miami and taught it to the Cavs. And I was like, one, that's a hell of a coach that understands their players' strengths to a point to where they're willing to empower them. And I think that's also like the big thing behind Kenny Atkinson and the change, just how well he's empowered these guys, right? Evan Mobley, he's given them, like, he's like the dude from Wizard of Oz. You know how the Wizard of Oz, like the whole point of the story is that like through the journey that they were actually just giving these guys something to empower them instead of like the actual thing that was asking for. So like the lion was cowardly, so you wanted to give him courage. I know it's very cool to reference the Wizard of Oz on the basketball channel, but hear me out. I'm going somewhere with this. But on the Wizard of Oz, like the lion needed courage, and like he acted like he gave the lion courage, but at the end of the day, the lion gave himself the courage because he was empowered to be courageous at the time, right? And so on and so forth, right? With everybody else in that story. And that's kind of what Kenny Atkinson is. He's kind of like the Wizard of Oz when it comes to this, because he's not doing anything to change who these players are. He's just empowering them to be a unabridged version of who they are, right? With Evan Mobley, he says, hey, I'm going to empower him by giving him the ball. With Darius Garland, I'm going to empower him by allowing him to facilitate freely, right? Like, he has empowered these guys. Max Strus, he's injured right now. How does Kenny Atkinson empower him? Let me let him teach the Heat's defense to this team.